When you think about the early days of Korea's legendary Joseon Dynasty, you've probably heard the big names, right? Lee Sung-gae, the warrior who founded it all. His son, Lee Bang-won, the ruthless one who cemented its power, and of course the icon, Sejong the Great. But what about the king who is sandwiched right between the founder and the consolidator? Well, his story is often just lost, but it's a tale of survival that might just be the most amazing of them all.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? It's a question that stumps a lot of people. His name was Bang-gwa, and his royal title was King Jeongjong. And his story, well, it's one of the most incredible tales of survival you'll ever hear. He's often just written off as a placeholder, a puppet. But today, we're going to dig into the real story.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with why he's so overlooked. Then we'll get into how he came to power during an insane crisis. We'll look at the smart, subtle moves he made as king, his wild decision to just step down, and finally, the surprising legacy he actually left behind.
Okay, so first things first. To really get Jeongjong, you have to understand the giants, the colossal figures who were casting these huge shadows over him from the day he was born.
I mean, look at this lineup. You've got his dad, Lee Sung-gae, a military genius who literally forged a kingdom. You've got his younger brother, Lee Bang-won, a political shark who would and did kill for power. And then his nephew, Sejong the Great, a true philosopher king. Talk about a tough family to stand out in.
And then there's this guy, Bang-gwa. He was the second son, kind of quiet, raised on the harsh frontier, known for being pretty level-headed. He wasn't the most ambitious, and he definitely wasn't the most ruthless. So, the standard historical take paints him as a king in name only, a total puppet. But as you're about to see, that version of the story misses something absolutely crucial.
All right, let's jump to the moment he actually became king. Because Jeongjong didn't inherit some stable, peaceful kingdom. No, he inherited a crime scene.
The whole dynasty was born in chaos. His father grabs power in 1388, makes Joseon official in 1392, but right away there was this simmering tension among the princes, especially his brother Lee Bang-won, who was furious about who was going to be named the heir. That tension, it didn't just simmer, it exploded.
So picture this. One single night, his ambitious younger brother, Lee Bang-won, launches a bloody coup. He literally hunts down and kills his rivals, including two of his own half-brothers. Their father, King Taejo, was so broken by the violence he just abdicated. But he refused to give the throne to the son who caused all that bloodshed. So it fell to the next in line, our guy, Lee Bang-gwa. You have to put yourself in his shoes here. It was an absolutely impossible position. Sure, he was wearing the crown, but his brother held all the cards. The army, the political allies, everything. Jeongjong was on the throne, but he was basically sitting on a knife's edge, and he knew exactly who was holding the handle.
And this brings us right to the heart of it, the core question of his entire reign. Was he just a puppet, a pawn in his brother's game? Or was he a quiet pragmatist playing a very dangerous game with incredible skill? So the myth, the easy story, is that he was a weak figurehead. But the reality? Oh, it is so much more interesting. He wasn't a puppet, he was a navigator. He was carefully, quietly steering the ship of state through a hurricane, all while knowing his ruthless brother was standing right over his shoulder, ready to take over at any moment. And his actions prove it. Let's look at the evidence, shall we? First, he moves the capital away from the palace where all that blood was spilled. That was a smart move to just cool things down. Second, he gets rid of the prince's private armies, a huge step to stop more civil wars from breaking out. And third, he actually sets up an office to investigate cases of people being unjustly enslaved. These are not the moves of some passive placeholder. Then, just over a year into his reign, it happens again. His brothers go to war. This time it's Lee Bang-won against another brother. And what did King Jeongjong do? Absolutely nothing. He didn't pick a side, he didn't intervene, he just watched and waited. He knew any other move could get him killed and plunge the kingdom into even more chaos. This wasn't weakness, this was profound wisdom.
His entire reign, short as it was, seems like it was building towards this one single masterful decision. A decision that most people totally misunderstand.
After just 2 years on this terrifying throne, watching his family just tear itself apart, he did something almost unheard of for a king.
He abdicated. He voluntarily handed the throne to his powerful brother, Lee Bang-won. Now listen, this was not a surrender,
This was the ultimate strategic move. It was checkmate. He knew he could never really rule, and that clinging to the title would just lead to more death. By letting go, he chose life, not just for himself, but for the very fragile, very new dynasty. You'd think his story would end there, right? Abdicated king fades into obscurity. But what happened next is maybe the most shocking, most incredible part of his entire legacy, his life after being king. For the next 19 years, Bang-gwa lived as a retired king. He didn't plot, he didn't scheme. Instead, he played polo. So enthusiastically, in fact, the government officials were apparently worried about his health. He practiced archery, he went to hot springs, he just lived his life. He relaxed.
In a world where kings who lost their thrones were almost always either locked up or killed, this was just extraordinary. He made himself completely unthreatening, and because of that, he outlived pretty much everyone from that first violent generation, and he died peacefully of natural causes at a ripe old age. In his time, that was the ultimate victory.
So his legacy wasn't about building monuments or winning glorious battles. His real contribution was providing stability. He was like a crucial shock absorber, wedged between two incredibly powerful and violent reigns. He gave the dynasty a moment to breathe and to survive its own brutal birth.
Ultimately, his life shows us a completely different kind of strength, doesn't it? It's not the courage to grab power, but that much rarer and maybe much wiser courage to let it go when holding on just means destruction for everyone.
And it kind of leaves us with one last thought. You know, we spend so much time praising the people who make the most noise, the conquerors, the builders, the revolutionaries. But maybe there's something profound we can learn from people like Jeongjong, the quiet survivors, the ones who understand that sometimes the greatest act of strength is knowing exactly when to step aside.